Today, he faces a series of charges that include murder. The government charges that Gotti orchestrated the assassination of Paul Castellano. On December 16, 1985, Castellano, who was then the head of the Gambino family, was to meet Gotti at this restaurant. But Gotti never showed, and a new godfather was born. They shot them 14 times?
Exactly. They didn't want any mistakes. Allegedly, he was overheard.
And he's a good man.
Bad guys.
But if John Gotti is a good man, then these guys were definitely bad.
These were the four most ruthless guys in the crew. And Chris used to kill in his underwear.
Right. He was the one who would jump out in his underwear and stab him in the heart. Didn't want to get his clothes dirty.
Jerry Capisi and his partner Gene Mustaine have chronicled Gotti's life in the Gambino family. Now they're writing a book about the DeMeo Crew, a Gambino gang that operated behind this Brooklyn bar until 1983, a gang that scared even John Gotti. Over a 10-year period, officials estimate the gang killed up to 200 people. Their meeting place was known as the Horror Hotel.
This is the Horror Hotel. This was the place where the DeMeo Crew chopped up the bodies of their murder victims and packaged them and shipped them off to the dump. They disposed of a couple of dozen bodies here.
The Horror Hotel?
Horror Hotel, right.
Check in.
Never get out, that's right.
This woman still goes to the bar and remembers the crew.
I came in, I saw them, and out of respect, you say hello. Doesn't mean you're going to sit down and get into a conversation and say, okay, who'd you kill next door?
People came in, they were shot in the head.
Yeah.
And then they were stabbed in the chest, and then dragged into the shower. All the blood was drained, and then they had a pool liner on my living room floor. Their bodies were cut up and then disposed of.
Most of the DeMeo crew is now dead or in jail. The Horror Hotel is now just an apartment where Debbie Doyle lived.
It's just like living anywhere else. It just bothered me the first night when I read about it in the paper.
What bothered you?
All the blood that went down the drain from the bodies. You know, I kind of felt eerie when I took a shower. But otherwise than that, it really didn't bother me because I feel when people are dead, you're dead.
Nice place to live now?
Yeah, it's the rent is cheap. Can't beat it.
In time, they became sort of the mafia's execution squad.
This was methodical murder, dismemberment, just like you and I go to work, these guys would go to work and chop bodies up.
I mean, I can't conceive of it. I can't conceive of someone doing this so cold-bloodedly, so methodically, and so calculatingly, and not having nightmares and not wanting to run away from it.
Dominick Montiglio did run away. Montiglio was raised by his uncle, Nino Gaggi, to be a hood and a member of the Gambino family.
It festers inside you. Because this is something that you really have to swallow. Like, this is a different world. They have no idea what it was like to really be a gangster.
In time, he became the watchdog of the DeMeo crew. He says he never killed, but he knew what was happening.
To hang out with Roy and Joey and Anthony, Henry, Paulie Pinto, Chris, Pedro, these were not like the norm in the life. In the life, they were scary people.
Eventually, he testified against the crew and his uncle and put them away. Today, Montiglio is in hiding, but he gave taped interviews to Gene Mustaine.
You had lunatics running around the street. These guys made them look like Mr. Rogers. It's like, you know, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You know, I mean, guys like Anthony and Joey were scary people.
Is there a mafia?
You know, I'm asked that all the time. And,
Hundreds of doomed victims walked into this gangland slaughterhouse. Not one walked out. Body after body was carved up in the shower.
Chris Rosenberg would jump out with a knife in his underwear because he didn't like to get his clothes dirty.
The henchmen were born into the underworld, but they grew up so vicious they even terrorized their mob pals.
They began to feel that they had the power of God.
There's never been a killing crew like this.